The Nissan Leaf has been around for quite a while now. In fact, it's one of the first mass-produced electric vehicles in the market. And with a hair under 600,000 units sold worldwide, the question is, how does it work in the Philippine context? We're going to answer all those questions and more right now. What's going on, guys? Roy Robles here from Zigwheels.Ph, and today we've been given the opportunity to review the awesome and revolutionary Nissan Leaf EV. So I'd like to start this review by saying that the test unit that we have right now is the pre-facelifted version. So for starters, let's take a look at the front end of the Nissan Leaf. The Nissan Leaf is very unassuming. In fact, if you put this aside a Nissan Almera, you wouldn't really know the difference. So first of all, you've got your charging port right here. If you want to open up the charging port, there's a button inside, or you can just simply hold this third button on the key fob. There you go. Opening up the charging port right here, you have two different options. One is for a wall charger as well as a CHAdeMO port. This is a fast charging port here, and you can actually charge your vehicle up to 50 kilowatts. That's around 0 to 80% in 40 minutes. This thing is actually a Type 1 charger. Most of the other chargers out there have this Type 2 protocol, which is incompatible with this one, so you need to have some sort of converter for this. But overall, I love how the Nissan Leaf's front end looks very unassuming. The design isn't very in your face. It doesn't scream out loud that, hey, I'm bringing out an EV. Instead, it's all business. In fact, the headlamps are halogen headlamps. The fog lamps are halogen as well. The only LED that you have here are the DRLs. Now right here, the side profile of the Nissan Leaf, here you'll see a lot more differences that this has over the Nissan Almera. If the front end looks like the Almera, you can forget about that reference right here in the side profile. For example, you got this nice two-tone design here. This is available in both blue, white, and red. What we got right here is the panda theme color, which has the black roof. While other models out there work with paint and work it off as a two-tone look, this one right here uses different and separate panels that completes the overall roof of this one. It gives out the black roof effect. Now, it's all nice and clean. You got 16-inch alloy wheels. By the way, those are the old alloy wheels. The new ones look a lot more dynamic, a lot more electric. And you have this badge. It says zero emission. What an age we live in, right? You're driving a car, a vehicle that can go really fast, go really far, but it doesn't expel any exhaust fumes at all. And that's something quite amazing. And I think the Nissan Leaf gives us that opportunity without having to break the bank as much. More on the price later. The Nissan Leaf also has 155 millimeters of ground clearance, which is a little higher than some other sedans and hatchbacks out there, which helps you out, especially in those imperfect roads. Now out here on the back, this is probably my favorite part of the Nissan Leaf because of how this black roof actually melts through the middle of the tailgate right here. You got another zero emission badge right there. The Leaf badge makes its appearance right here as well. You won't see any exhaust ports or mufflers here at all because it doesn't have to have one. It doesn't need one at all. You got your reflector signals here and Z-shaped tail lamp. Some other people say it's L-shape, but since we're in Zigwheels.Ph, I'm calling this a Z-shape. I like it. So this one is not power operated. It's manually, well, you have to open up manually right here. But once you do open it up, it gives you access to all this space inside. I gotta say, it really is quite cavernous inside. Plus the lower lip isn't that high. So if you're thinking about bringing in heavy items inside, you can do so. And if you need even more space, those rear seats fold in a 60-40 split configuration. So you can put even more space inside. Now about those folding flat rear seats, because of this ridge right here, you don't get a really flat loading area. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. It's flat right here on the second row, but not all the way here. Unfortunately, you do not get a spare tire in this one. Instead, you get fix-a-flat. You get some sort of system in order to an air compressor to help it, but you won't get a spare tire. The reason behind that is that Nissan needs to fit in the battery underneath there, and there won't be any space for a spare tire, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Let's take a look at the inside, and I want to show you a lot more stuff about the Nissan Leaf. All right, so inside the Nissan Leaf, you find more of that normcore attitude that I was talking about on the exterior. First of all, well, the steering wheel, this looks like it was lifted out of Nissan Philippines' current line of vehicles. It's leather wrapped with blue stitching on it, signifying that this is an electric vehicle, and is a D-shaped as well. Now, the steering wheel is adjustable only for rake, that's up and down, and not for reach. So getting your optimum driving position might be a challenge for you, especially with the seats being manually operated only. You got a huge 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system right here with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is nice. And I love how the screen works. It's very responsive and intuitive. There's no lag at all. And there are a couple of things that you can check out there as well. You got a camera button right there. Camera button's very easy for you to locate. You can check out the 360 degrees camera. You can check the front and the rear and the sides as well. Now the gauge cluster is really interesting. The speedometer is analog, but on the left side you've got a huge digital screen to give you all the information that you need for your drive. Here is where you can actually change the charging timer, because once you're outside charging this vehicle, you want to make sure that you have that off. So right here underneath this touchscreen infotainment system, you got a single zone automatic climate control. You got this blue start stop button and a solitary USB port. You also have a 12-volt socket here, and you got an aux jack as well. So the dashboard is nicely sculpted. It has soft touch on the middle, but hard plastics on the places where you don't usually touch. So right here in the middle in the center stack right here, you'd see this some sort of pod for your shifter. This might require a little bit of learning curve for people who are more used to using a gear lever. This is more of like a drive-by-wire system, so it's not connected to anything mechanical at all, which can be, again, more of a learning curve for people who want to operate the Nissan Leaf. So in order to shift to D, slide it left and down, then you're at D, slide it again, you're at B, which is what some people call bogey mode, but that's actually a regenerative braking feature. Overall, it's very simple inside. I like how everything is laid out exactly as you expect a car to be. These seats, by the way, they're Nissan zero gravity seats, so that you can make sure that you are in your proper seating position. And the seats are very comfortable, they're well bolstered, and you're gonna need that in our drive again later on. So that's enough of the front end. Let's take a look at the rear and see what toys do we have for the rear passengers. And since it's an electric vehicle, are there any USB ports right there? Well, I already gave out a spoiler because this is only the solitary port, but let's see what things that we have there to play with. All right, so right here at the back, it's definitely not gonna be comfortable for a guy my size. I'm 5'10.5", but I got my knees almost just an inch the back of the front seat. There's still a lot of room for my knees though, but my feet and my legs are going to be stationary this way because the seats are mounted way low. It's either that or I'm seated way high up. I gotta still have a little bit of headroom right here, but if I'm wearing a cap, it's probably going to be a different story. This thing doesn't have USB ports at the back. It doesn't have an AC vent. It doesn't even have a center armrest for cup holders. What you do have though is this huge center tunnel. I don't understand. This is an electric vehicle. What does this need a center tunnel for? Well, Nissan Philippines did explain that it does need a lot of room to make sure that they snake through this high capacity or high voltage wires to get the power through the different parts of the vehicle. I mean, I accept that, the fact that this is a city car, so again, I expect this to have a little bit more room, but I guess that's definitely workable. This is supposedly a 5-seater, but if you expect 5 of myself to fit in here, it's not going to be very useful. But for regular sized Filipinos or regular sized passengers, this should be fine. The middle passenger will just have to have their legs high up this way, or gonna have to bang their knees with their rear passenger mates. That's all she wrote about the rear section here. So let's head on out to my favorite part of the review and let's see how this thing drives. All right, so we're behind the wheel of the Nissan Leaf. Well, first of all, can you hear that? Do you hear that? No, I can't hear that either because this is a full electric vehicle. No internal combustion engines at all, unlike the Nissan Kicks, which is an e-power, it's kind of hybrid vehicle. This one is full EV. So going down the road, wherever, you won't be hearing anything from the outside, especially from the front end. What you got underneath is an electric motor that makes 148 horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque. Now there are two drive modes. First, you've got Eco mode, which is the standard mode. It gives you just the right amount of power. If you put the pedal to the metal, put the pedal to the floor, it speeds up quite nicely. But when you turn the Eco off, okay, you can definitely feel all 320 Newton meters of torque right there to the front wheels right away. So we're punching through these roads, and it's just quite a feeling. And right away you'd see your range just drop just like that. But it is quite addictive, something that you might be tempted to keep turned on at all times. But if you want to make sure that you have the most out of the mileage out of your Nissan Leaf, I'd say keep the Eco mode on. You gotta be careful of one thing though. With all that power going to the front wheels and those skinny-ish tires, 205 series tires, you will get a lot of torque steer. So torque steer happens when the front wheels can't get enough grip, and the suspension isn't worked out in such a way where it's meant for performance, and you'd feel a slight jerk in the steering wheel as well. So again, don't be a victim of Darwinism, guys. Be smart when you're driving the Nissan Leaf. Right, so the turning radius on this vehicle is just superb, being a hatchback. And I like how the suspension is just right. It's not floaty, it's not overly stiff. It's just something that's right there in the middle for you to be comfortable enough yet confident while driving or attacking the corners. So fuel economy, well, this thing doesn't need any fuel. But what it does is that it gives you just enough range for a 40 kilowatt hour battery. So you get 300 kilometers in one full charge from that 40 kilowatt hour battery. And you got to think about this. Well, 300 kilometers, you have to take that with a very healthy heaping grain of salt, because not all conditions would be ideal in order for you to get the most out of that battery, because it has to take into account the load that the car is carrying, the speed, whether you're in eco mode, where the grade of how steep the road you're traveling in is. So if you're taking this up to Baguio or any mountainous roads, that number would definitely drop. It is possible, definitely 300 kilometers in a single charge is definitely possible, but I'd say with my experience, I get around 250 kilometers, 220, which isn't really that far off. So considering the 300 kilometer range that the Nissan Leaf has, you gotta figure out exactly where your 0000 point is, or where your home point is. So can you take this out on a road trip, for example? Well, theoretically, yes. But the only adversity that you have though is the current state of charging or EV charging in the Philippines. While it's growing at a very exponential rate, it's still not at a point where it would dispel range anxiety. It's just that daunting. I mean, you wouldn't want to be losing a battery, you're losing charge while you're driving this or enjoying good time. So right now, at least, the big disclaimer, right now, taking this out on a road trip across Luzon, across the Visayas or Mindanao, that might not be the best of ideas, because it will require a lot of forethought, a lot of planning before you can actually do so. Now, what I see this perfect as right now is a city cruiser. This is a perfect option if you already have a car with you and you need a daily driver. If you want to get that sweet spot of power, fuel efficiency, and comfort, as well as having that really smooth, buttery drive, the Nissan Leaf slots in that position really well. There's something that you need to consider. If you got two chargers, one is a fast charging protocol, or what they call CHAdeMO, and the other one is a slow charger with a Type 1 charger. The one that's available in many malls these days is a Type 2 charger, but this one uses a more uncommon Type 1. So the Type 2 that's available in malls these days is not going to be compatible with this one, unless of course you buy one of those converters in Lazada. And on top of that, those chargers in the malls, they charge at around 7 kilowatts. So that will take around 7 to 8 hours to top up from low battery status. Another consideration is cost. So one big question about EVs is that, is this going to be too much of an impact to your electricity bill? Well, Nissan claims, and a couple of studies have claimed, that you're actually just going to use about 500 pesos every time you charge your vehicle. And that's from zero to full. So if you're just topping up every now and then, it's not going to be as big of an impact as a lot of people think. Plus, even if you charge this every day, 500 pesos for a full tank for about 250 to 300 kilometers is still a lot cheaper than having to fill up your car, your internal combustion car, with gasoline that can reach at an average of 2,500 to 3,000 pesos. So you got to keep that into consideration as well. So for safety, this one has your standard safety features. You got airbags, ABS, electronic brake force distribution, you got stability control and all that. But on top of all that, Nissan put all the works in the Nissan Leaf with their Nissan Intelligent Mobility System. Nissan Intelligent Mobility System is their suite of active and passive safety features. We'll make sure that you have a safe drive. It's not quite there yet when it comes to autonomous driving, but at least it has adaptive cruise control. You got rear cross traffic alert. You got blind spot monitoring, you got a tire pressure monitoring system, 360-degree camera, proximity sensors, forward collision warning systems, lane keep assist. It even has the system where it detects the way you're driving. It kind of knows that you're driving erratically, if you're sleepy, or if you're, God forbid, drunk. It's gonna alert you and say, hey, rest for a bit, because you're not driving quite right and you don't want to crash your Nissan Leaf. Knock on wood. Nope, no wood trims here. All right, so we got all that covered. There are a couple of things that I want to discuss here as well. First of all, let's talk about e-pedal. At first, I thought it was a gimmick, this e-pedal thing. So once you activate e-pedal, there you go, I'm letting go of this. You can actually drive your Nissan Leaf with just the accelerator pedal. So hit the accelerator pedal, you move forward, and then take your foot off that gas, and it's gonna brake right away. I actually thought that e-pedal was a gimmick, because why would I want to change the way I drive? So I activated e-pedal. I'm driving along our busy, traffic-ridden streets, and guess what? Now that I've experienced it, it's something that I'm gonna start to look for in cars now. The comfort, the ease of use of having just one pedal to modulate, it's something else. Plus, once you're up to speed and it hits the brakes, it actually regenerates a whole lot more than just putting it in B mode. So for people out there who have been complaining about the loss of the third pedal, the clutch pedal, well, it's time to get scared, guys, because I think we're about to lose that brake pedal as well with this kind of technology. All right, so pricing for the Nissan Leaf starts at 2,798,000 pesos. And then if you're shocked by that price, and yes, that is quite shocking, almost 3 million pesos for what basically is a regular normal city car. But a regular normal city car, this is not. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. I just want to give you a quick disclaimer. Ever since we shot this video, Nissan Philippines has actually adjusted the price of the Nissan Leaf, bringing it down to just 1,998,000 pesos. This is because of some new government incentives and regulations that apply to EV vehicles. So this is definitely a great time for the EV car scene in the Philippines. I'm gonna make a follow-up video on that one. Just keep in mind that there are a couple of things that I've said in the video that applies to the original price. So again, the original price of the Nissan Leaf has been slashed to just 1,998,000 pesos. And thanks so much. Let's go back to the video. This might be the closest thing that I've ever ridden that might be almost categorized by myself as the perfect city car, because you could just drive this around, put her along different parts of the city, parts of the metro, and then come home, put it in the wall socket. No matter how slow it charges, you'd be still getting a full charge by the start of the day. Now, if you consider, the other options that you have probably when you're buying the Nissan Leaf, you could probably look at the Nissan Kicks e-Power. You also have hybrid options. You got Toyota's RAV4, the Corolla Cross hybrid, and even their other hybrids like the Altis hybrid and all that. But again, those require gasoline. Plus, if you want to go the plug-in hybrid route, there's the Cherry Tiggo 8 Pro. So, but again, those are hybrids. If you really want something that is a pure EV, you might want to look at other options that are this car's contemporaries, like the Kia EV6, Hyundai Ioniq 5, and even the Weltmeister SUV. But those cars, though, they're way above the price range of this Nissan Leaf. They might be even touching a little bit more closer to 4 million pesos. If you consider all that, then the Nissan Leaf becomes the deal of a lifetime then. The only thing that might hold back a lot of people from buying an EV is, of course, again, that range anxiety and the fear of being proven wrong and still being traditional. But to all the people out there who are afraid of change, yeah, you might want to head on over and get the traditional car. But for those who want to embrace change, embrace the revolution, this is the most affordable way to get into the door of full EVs. Nissan Leaf. You can't go wrong with this car. So at the end of the day, the Nissan Leaf is definitely a very revolutionary vehicle, but again, it's not going to be for everyone. Nissan knows that, and you have to know that as well. But I want to know what you think. Drop me a comment in the comment section down below, and while you're at it, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification icon so you wouldn't miss any of our videos. I know you're looking for more content about electric vehicles, so make sure that you subscribe to our channel for more of that. Thanks for watching. This is Roy Robles from Zigwheels.Ph, and I'll see you guys next time.